Welcome to your Fort Worth City Council meeting. I'm going to call us to order.
The invocation today will be by President Rajan Zeid from the Universal Society of Hinduism. President Zeid,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Should I start the prayer? Starting with Gayatri Mantra, considered the most sacred mantra of Hinduism, I shall be reading from ancient Hindu scriptures in Sanskrit, some as old as 1500 BCE, and then interpret in English. May all rise, please. Om Bhurvah Svah Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. We meditate on the transcendental glory of the Deity Supreme, who's inside the heart of the earth, inside the life of the sky, and inside the soul of the heaven. May He stimulate and illuminate our minds. Astoma Sadgamya Tamsoma Jyotirgamya Mrityur Mamratam Gamya. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Tasmada Sakta Statam Karyam Karma Samachara Sakto Hai Charan Karma Parma Panoti Purusha Karmane Vahi Samsiddhi Masta Jankadya Loka Sangreha Mevapi Sampashankar Tumrahasi. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world. By devotion to selfless, one attains the supreme goal of life. Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind. Om Saha Navavatu, Saha Navunaktu, Saha Viryan Karba Bahai, Tejasvi Navadita Mastu, Ma Vidvisa Bahai. May we be protected together. May we be nourished together. May we work together with great vigor. May our study be enlightening. May no obstacle arise between us. Samni va khuti, samna hridayani va, samnamastu vo mano, yatha va susahasti. United your resolve, united your hearts. May your spirits be at one, that you may long together dwell in unity and concord. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om. Thank you.
Thank you. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda.
There are no items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda,
Items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
and there are no items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
Next item is consideration of the approval of the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Mike's, there we go.
Next item is special presentation and introductions. And the first one is presentation of the proclamation for Social Service Month.
There we go. Thank you.
Morning, Mayor and Council. I'm here to present, as you said, the proclamation for Social Work Month, an important designation here in our city. I don't know if Angie Lutz is in the audience here, or come on up, Angie. just want to say a few things, about the National Association of Social Workers. Founded in 1955, the National Association of Social Workers is the largest organization of professional social workers in the world, with over 155,000 members in 55 chapters. This Texas chapter, with nearly 6,000 members, is a major professional social work organization in the state. And a little bit about the North Central Texas Fort Worth area and the social work representation there. The North Texas, Central Texas Fort Worth branch of the National Association of Social Workers covers the following counties: Erath, Hood, Johnson, Palo Pinto, Parker, Somerville, and Tarrant. Schools of social work in North Texas Fort Worth branch include University of Texas at Arlington, Texas Christian University, Arlington University, Stephenville campus. So without further ado, I will read the proclamation. Whereas, for decades, the social work profession has been dedicated to improving human well-being and enhancing the basic needs of all people, especially the most vulnerable among us, particularly during the global pandemic. The social work profession is one of the fastest growing careers in the United States, with more than 715,000 social workers today and nearly 800,000 professionals expected to be employed as social workers by 2028. Social workers work in all facets of our society to meet people no matter their circumstance and empower them to live their fullest potential. And whereas social workers are the largest group of mental health care providers in the United States and work daily to help people, whether in person or remotely, overcome substance use disorders and mental illnesses such as depression and anxiety. Social workers help people overcome issues such as death and grief, and helps people and communities to recover from natural disasters brought on by climate change. Social workers advocate for equal rights for all, including those marginalized by race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, and whereas this year's Social Work Month theme is "The Time is Right for Social Work." That embodies how social workers have always risen to meet the most pressing challenges. Social workers have continued to push for changes and have made our society a better place to live, including livable wage, improved workplace safety, and social safety net programs that help ameliorate poverty, hunger, and homelessness. And whereas social workers possess the necessary expertise to assist our nation in some of the most demanding concerns, including health and well-being, not only during the pandemic, but at all times, ensuring equal rights, improved health, and mental health care for all. Now, therefore, the City of Fort Worth does hereby recognize and proclaim March 2022 as Social Work Month in the City of Fort Worth. So allow me to present this. Angie, let me pull it out of its protective cardboard box. That proclamation. And please, go ahead. You have the podium. Say some words.
Perfect. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Angie Lutz. I'm the branch chair for the North Central Texas Fort Worth area branch of NASW. There are about 1,100 social workers who live in the city of Fort Worth. Many more work in our cities. We work in schools, we work in hospitals, rehabilitation facilities, detention centers, we work in the courts, in state and federal government agencies, in adoption agencies, and in nonprofit organizations, serving individuals who are homeless, refugees, survivors of domestic violence, sex trafficking, and other traumas. We work in mental health practices, offering psychotherapy. While the job of a social worker often goes unnoticed, we are all around you. We are making a difference in the lives of the clients that we serve. On behalf of the National Association of Social Workers, North Central Texas Fort Worth area branch, I want to thank Councilman Flores, the City Council, Mayor Parker, and the City of Fort Worth for recognizing the contributions and the impact of social workers in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Okay. Oh, just pull it out. Right quick. Okay, perfect. All right. Is there anyone else who wants to join us in the photo? Now's your time. Come on in. That'll be fine. Great, thank you. All right, thanks again. Okay, appreciate your work. Go ahead and take that if you want.
The next presentation will be presentation from Child Care Associates on Blue Ribbon Action Committee on Child Care.
Thank you, Jeanette. And as my friend Kara Waddell comes to the podium, Kara serves as CEO of Child Care Associates, and among many dubious distinctions she has, she's my friend. And for years, we've been working on early child education together, and we are incredibly fortunate to have Kara in Tarrant County and in Fort Worth specifically helping lead the charge. And today is an exciting day for us to make an announcement about this Blue Ribbon Action Committee that she's going to share with you. The focus is really on our youngest and most vulnerable children in our community that deserve access to quality early child education regardless of their zip code, and importantly, paying more attention to the educators that are in their classrooms all across Tarrant County. So Kara, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Well, I'm here to talk about the Blue Ribbon Action Committee on Childcare. I noticed David's here, so we'll avoid the conversation of Duke Blue and UNC Blue coming up very soon. It's an ongoing challenge. No, I'm excited to be here to help introduce what's going on in our community about childcare. I think in any community, there's a unique intersectionality of things that we care about. Childcare is early education. We know how critical that is, and we also know that it's a two-generation workforce, supporting today's workforce and supporting tomorrow's as well. And so in many ways, COVID baked the case for childcare. I think we all know across all places that it's particularly critical at this time. So I'm going to walk through just a couple slides as we're pleased to introduce the members of the Blue Ribbon Action Committee today. And then I have an overview slide for you all on some of the other funding that's coming for childcare, just to make sure you're aware as well. So start with an image. I think it's very fair to say this represents childcare today. We have struck the iceberg. We knew it was icy waters. We knew there were all kinds of challenges facing working families, facing working women, facing people who make $10 to $12 an hour in childcare. And so we're one of the reasons why we've convened and our community's convened a Blue Ribbon Action Committee is to take a fresh look at this. And this is not the first time our community has done this. About 54 years ago, in the late 60s, the precursor to the United Way, the United Fund, brought together a group of community leaders because we were in a childcare crisis. Women decided to work outside the home. There were more single-parent families than before, and we had illegal childcare, children in basements, and there was a need to say, we need to have a plan for what we're going to do for childcare, and we're in a similar place today. So let me introduce just a little bit of the distinctive community role, and then I'll introduce the members to you. I think our macro focus is like, let's work on improving outcomes for children 0 to 5 who are in childcare. Children are in families. We always strengthen families, but when they're outside the strength of a family, it's really critical that that childcare program is strong. Also helping improving outcomes for working parents, and then stabilizing those business models for childcare, as well as building the core of childcare educators that we need. So they're going to work on bold, innovative, cross-sector ideas. They have an advisory function as they help advise CCA. They help advise our community as to where we are going. I'll let you read through the talking points. And then specifically, we have 2 co-chairs for the 16 members of the Blue Ribbon Action Committee, Alfreda Norman from the Dallas Federal Reserve and our own Rose Bradshaw from the North Texas Community Foundation. We had as a goal, we wanted to be primary female because I think childcare impacts women in special ways. And we also wanted to make sure that we represented the diversity of our community. I think we've done a decent job at taking a good stab of that. You'll also notice that it's not just Tarrant County folks. We've got folks across North Texas, even though the focus of our efforts is going to be on thinking through the needs of families, specifically in Fort Worth, Arlington, and Tarrant County. And so that's a little bit, and we're going to start off with some initial priorities, and we're not coming to the table without knowledge of what's already needing attention and needing help. And so our North Star priorities will start with places and spaces. If we need a school today, we have bonds that help take care of this. We have a plan. If we need higher ed, they have a variety of supports to make that happen as well. If we need pre-K classrooms, we've been able to pull that off as a community as well. But when we get to infants and toddlers, there's no source of public funding to be able to make those spaces happen. We think it's something we need to look at. The early educator workforce, Mayor Parker's already spoken to. Our average child care educator in Tarrant County earns less than a Buc-ee's cashier. And less training than what's required of a nail technician or dog groomer. And so it's going to be critical that we rethink. There are lowest paid educators in our community, and I think we can do a lot better. Also looking at a sustainable cost model. I know our Mayor Pro Tem has brought childcare providers forward, who's helped us understand, their business model cannot work in this environment. It's really a broken cost model. And so we're needing to look at what do we need to do to better support the actual costs of childcare? And then lastly, a mixed delivery system of early learning. Texas was one of the first states actually to start pre-kindergarten, and all of those resources were given to schools. A lot of other states after that have begun to rethink, maybe we need a mixed delivery system. How do we have pre-K also in childcare programs? We leave money every year in Austin for 3-year-olds while we have 3-year-olds in our community-based early learning programs. Maybe that's something that we can tap into. So I'll pause to show you a little bit of the kind of the scope or cadence for the year. They're going to be meeting 4 times. They're having kind of an input session with national leaders and experts. The first one, we had the Bipartisan Policy Center weighing in, helping them understand what's broken in childcare. We've had the lead economist for the Texas Policy Lab at Rice University weigh in, and you can see some of the initial scope of work that's coming up. This is not just a part, while I'm speaking today to the City of Fort Worth, certainly this is something that represents a partnership. Tarrant County is all in on thinking through this. They've made an initial budget allocation. City of Arlington is in conversations as well, and this really represents a unified front with our business community, our philanthropic community, and others. So I'll pause and see if there's any comments or feedback, and then I can move on if you'd like just to the different dollars that are currently at the table. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go on. Just to give you a little bit of a snapshot, it's unprecedented. We've had over $5.4 billion come to the state of Texas for childcare. $4.4 billion has been awarded by the Texas Workforce Commission. Have one great example. So this is coming out in the form of stabilization grants for actual childcare businesses on the ground. I heard this morning about a Morningside childcare provider who got her $400,000 plus check to help stabilize her business to make sure that they're there for working families. There is money. This grant application is open up now through the end of May. We have 24 business coaches available to our childcare centers. Our Early Learning Alliance is available. And so if you know of any provider who has not gotten an invitation and is not working on that, it's a very simple application process. So we are getting dollars to stabilize our childcare businesses. But what that means is we need to come up with a plan. That's why we have the Blue Ribbon Action Committee to help us begin to think about where do we go from here, because those dollars will not be there forever. I think you are familiar with the $2 million investment that the Workforce Board has made also to help increase the base wages temporarily as a salary supplement for our child care workers specifically. And so I'm pleased to say we've had 1,168 professionals receive that to date. That's 68% of our Texas Rising Star programs. The ones not participating are more school-age care or our national chains. And so it's out, it's working, it's beginning to help. City of Fort Worth has made an initial $9 million look at early learning infrastructure, speaking to infants and toddler infrastructure, as I said. Tarrant County has made an initial $45 million allocation and working with child care associates and figuring out what's the best way to get that out to our community and the best investments for that. So I can pause there. I've got some additional couple interesting things. We've gone from when I came many years ago, we had about 6,000 families be helping on any given day help pay for childcare. That's closer now to 8,000 or 9,000. I'm still getting the final numbers on that. We just got notification we get to serve an additional 1,000. So we are serving roughly 50% more low-income families in need of childcare than we did pre-COVID. So there are resources coming. We're beginning to make a difference, and we're thrilled to be able to stand alongside Rose and Alfreda from the Dallas Federal Reserve and help bring forward ideas to figure out where do we go from here. Mayor?
Thank you, Kara. Council, any questions or comments for Kara? Go ahead, Gina.
Kara, thank you for being here this morning. Children and parents couldn't have a more fierce advocate for their concerns or causes, their cares, their fears than you. And this team you've put together is more than impressive. We know you were talking under a time crunch, but you alluded to some money that's been on the street recently. I think that bears repeating so that people who are listening, who may be pouring coffee right now, will know what's happening and how you guys have been so forceful and supportive of making sure that that money was coming here.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's $3.4 billion available to childcare businesses across Texas. And so they are getting an application targeted for them based on their license number. And so that is open now through the end of May. It's about a week turnaround to get a check. So it is happening. We know that sometimes those grant applications and public processes can be complicated. Call child care associates. Like I said, we've got business coaches that'll help you walk through that and also think through strategically. A check is not an answer. A business plan is an answer. And so there's business coaches to help them think through what are some of their investments, what are some of the business models that need to be coming about. I know there were concerns from childcare providers, well, can I paint? I need to paint my facility. I mean, I need to update my flooring. I need to, upgrade my classrooms. All of those are options that you can use with the money that's coming directly to them.
Thank you, Kara.
Yeah.
Michael?
Thank you. Kara, I just want to say thank you for being a friend and being a passionate member of District 3. And I don't think the people that know you know that every day you live and breathe this and try and figure out how we're going to help our kids and what we're going to do there. So I'm excited about future announcements that I know are coming as part of this as this project rolls out. I'm also excited about all the work that you've helped do already in the Las Vegas Trail area with a head start that we're going to get there because of all of your efforts, you and your team putting that together. So just thank you again for all you do for our citizens and our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we look forward to the work in Riverside also with city funding to help expand the infant toddler service there. Also coming up in the Stop 6 neighborhood. Again, strengthening childcare businesses that are there, improving the quality, because very soon, every childcare provider is going to have to meet these standards of quality. It's a new bill that passed. So we're there for them. We've got the resources they need in order to make that progression. So thanks for having me today. Any other questions from council members?
Mayor, can I just say just one more thing? People need to know that it's one thing to have your child taken care of by an aunt, a relative, a grandmother, what have you, but we've got to get these children prepared. We have to teach them to be able to read, to enter the schoolyard, being prepared, and sometimes that's not in the family. And so I encourage people who have grandchildren, grandnephews, great-grands, make sure your child is getting the appropriate preparation, and they can do that by any affiliate of Child Care and Associates. Again, thank you, Kara.
Yeah, our workforce board has a long waiting list. We know that to help working families access that support. We are working through it. We pulled 2,000 more families today. It's going to be down to 0 by this summer. So it is a great time if you need childcare to call us. Let us get you, in the loop so that you're ready for the beginning of the school year. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kara. We appreciate you.
Next, our upcoming and recent events, recognition of citizens, and approval of ceremonial travel.
Kara, hold on, Kara. There you go. Try
There we
again.
go. Mayor and council, I'm requesting council approval for ceremonial travel to Barcelona, Spain for April 13th to 15th, 2022 for myself. This will be paid for with council budget. That's my motion, and I have 3 others.
Got a motion? Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
Okay, I'm told I can do all at one time. I had these written
Great.
down as 4. So I'm requesting council approval on behalf of Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Crane, and Councilmember Nettles for ceremonial travel to Barcelona, Spain from April 13th to the 15th, 2022. We'll be touring, on the agenda item today is a soccer complex. We'll be touring the La Masia Soccer Academy that is world-renowned as we, as Fort Worth, look to compete internationally for sports tourism related to soccer in Fort Worth. That's my motion.
Got a motion and a second, council? Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Okay, I believe we have some announcements by council members.
Yes, we do. I think I'll start with Councilmember Crane.
We have changes in boards first.
Okay,
It's next?
yeah.
Okay. That's not what the agenda says, so let me find this. Are we doing a, yeah, there we go. A couple of quick announcements, a few slides here. This last week, Amy Connolly and Victor Turner and I from the city flew to Philadelphia as part of the Las Vegas Trail Revitalization Plan to meet with Interface Studios, our third-party vendor we've hired to help us look at how we look at Las Vegas Trail and what we do. They've developed and redeveloped some communities in Philadelphia. And so you see some pictures of us there. Notably, we visited a lot of parts that they've revitalized, some community development, local development corporations, and other things. And so some good ideas that we're going to bring back here as part of this plan to help revitalize that area. I do want to point out my friend Dante. So you see he's on the right. I'm pointing at his hat. I gave him a Molly pin, and he immediately put it on his hat and started wearing it around his neighborhood. So I was pretty proud of that and some of the things that we did. Next slide. Well, back up for just a second. I want to say that I want to shout out to People's Emergency Center, Impact Services Corporation, and APM, who are the groups that gave us the tours and showed us different parts of Philadelphia and what they've done there to try and revitalize it. Next, I just want to do a shout out for Cowtown Cleanup. I made it around to 4 of my neighborhoods that were doing cleanup. Ridgely North Neighborhood Association, Susie Jerry that organized it there, Bomber Heights, Mindy Trevino and Jared Roker, Ridgely Hills Edition, Krista Roberts, and Skyline Ranch, Kelsey Barron. So it was a good little morning, making sure that we're keeping our neighborhoods beautiful. And then the last part of this, well, I took my daughters to see Fire Station 43. This is the temporary station we have going up near Walsh, near Cook Children's. So they gave a little tour. So shout out to Todd Brook, Jason Loveland, and Don Barry, who let them play around on the fire truck and in the facility. If you haven't been out there, go check it out. It is a good thing that we've done. We are probably about 2 years away from that fire station actually being built, but it's about 3 years later than it should be because of some property issues. But it's helped the residents in Walsh have closer fire emergency services and lowered their insurance bills too as part of that. So I was excited to bring them out there to see that. And I think we have a video from the Fort Worth Public Library, just 25-second video about what they did out there. The library this week hosted Women's History Month, and a Como resident chef, Katrina Carpenter, who's a very, very great chef, recreated some of Lucille's famous chili biscuits, the recipe, and I want to thank the collaboration with Como Community Center and the City Cable for putting that together. It was a great little day on Sunday to be out there, use the Como Community Center, that they've got a kitchen, all kinds of facilities. If you haven't visited it, it's a great place and a great part of the community.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Next, Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
Thank you, Mayor. Over the weekend, I was able to visit with the Tarrant County Black Historical and Genealogical Society as they celebrated their 45th anniversary. There you see HEB ISD President Brenda Sanders Wise, who lives in Garden of Eden, which is a historical neighborhood, so it's in her blood. I was able to present them a check, but also give them a brief lecture on the importance of their engagement on redistricting. And I'm sure Councilman Nettles will have some more pictures as Sam took a wonderful picture of you. Next. Hats off to Tarchie White of the Historical Carver Heights Neighborhood Association. Carver Heights is the first neighborhood built in Fort Worth where African Americans were the very first to move in. One person you'll see in that picture is our chief. Chief Neal always makes the cleanup there because he knows if he doesn't, Tarchie's going to call him and say, "Where are you?" And he's always there. And so hats off to them. I have another picture with them, but I won't show that. We had a great time, and that's what I've got.
Thank you, Gina. Our next is to Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor.
We see a video, but no volume. Is that the plan? No volume.
It's totally fine. We don't have to play the volume. It's okay.
Okay.
This video was put together, while it's playing, I'll talk. This video was put together by Manya Shore and her team with the public library. We had an exciting groundbreaking event Saturday, and it was a great attendance, and we are so excited about having another space for kids and our families to grow and thrive. So stay tuned for that. We will be doing a ribbon cutting very soon, in about a year. It's slated for summer of 2023. So we are looking forward to that. There's still much more work to be done with that project, including naming the library. And so our office will be sending out information along with the library team about how you can get involved with that naming process. And I believe we may have had Cowtown cleanup, but if it's not on there, I just want to thank all of our neighbors who participated. Because of all the residents who came out and volunteered in District 6, we were able to cover McCart Avenue, Alta Mesa, Sycamore School Road, and also Oakmont Boulevard. So thank you all so much for continuing to keep Fort Worth beautiful, one neighborhood at a time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jared. Now to Councilmember Nettles.
I believe the last time we had council meeting, we were all at the President Biden visit. We ran over here for the council meeting, and so you see those pictures of us talking about the veterans, the importance. The next slide, please. I got a chance to participate in the Uplift Mighty versus Uplift Meridian, which both are in District 8, 7-on-7 flag football. And that is actually my son right there with the red shoes. And so it was a great experience to my nephew with the gray hoodie on. They won. And so we're excited about that, but it was a great experience to be at the charter schools. Next slide, please. I had an opportunity to go to ODY VIP baseball tournament that they host to support their group. The coach talked about how they were in a district or a league where sometimes the games are very hard for the team, and so they host their own tournament to give the kids some excitement and hope about playing baseball. And they allowed me to throw the first pitch. We had video, but we will not show that video today, but there's me throwing the first pitch. Next slide, please. And I was not a baseball player, just to let you know, I was a football player. So we won't show that video. Next slide. This was career day at Bishop Elementary School. It's in Everman, but it's also adjacent to District 8. There's pieces of Everman that's in District 8. And so I had the opportunity to speak to the children, and they had very interesting questions. And so it was exciting to be with them on that day. Is there another slide? This is NLC conference in Washington, D.C. And so during the conference, one of our ACM's birthday was Valerie. And so we shared her birthday, she shared her birthday with us at NLC. We had another opportunity to hear from the President of the United States again and learn other things about the city of Fort Worth. Next slide. This is the anniversary, 45th anniversary that Gina, Mayor Pro Tem, talked about a few moments ago. The city of Fort Worth gave a proclamation to them. They're doing awesome work. It's in historical South Side, the museum. So I encourage all of you, if you have not been to the museum, please go back and go by and show your support. They are celebrating 45 years of Tarrant County Black Historical Genealogy Society. So it was a great event to be there on the weekend. The next slide. Wednesday, April the 20th, 22 at 6 p.m. at the McDonald's YMCA, we will have the bond election meetings. And I know there's just a lot of chatter about, we'll get into that later, about redistricting and bonds and public meetings. This is a public meeting. Anybody can participate in it. So this is the announcement, so come out and be a part of this public meeting. Next slide. I believe that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And now to Councilwoman Beck.
Great. So I'll piggyback where I think my colleague left off. It was a momentous day a week ago today for this city. It is not often that we have an official presidential visit. In fact, it had been 59 years since Fort Worth had seen that. And I was honored to be part of it, and I'm very grateful that the president chose this particular platform, our city, to highlight the issues of veterans benefits and how we can better serve those folks that have laid it all on the line to serve our nation. Next slide. Last week, we had a Forest Park Pool input meeting. It was really well attended. I appreciate everyone that came out and gave your perspective on what you want the bathhouse to look like and where you want things to go. It was incredibly productive. The site truly is really special, and as we've gone through this process, we've uncovered some gems around that particular facility that I think you'll see highlighted as we go through this remodel and rebuild process. Next slide. I had the opportunity to attend the UTA School of Social Work, so how appropriate that we had our social work resolution today. Their Thursday talks and treats in honor of Women's History Month. You will see standing up there with me are 3 of my colleagues from our Tarrant County city to the east, Arlington. And so it was a pleasure to get to talk to students about what it's like to serve in government and how they can, we need more social workers on the dais, so how they can absolutely get in here and make a good positive change for our city. Next slide. Gallery night was this past Saturday, and unlike many years before, you start to see the near South Side become a highlight on the bus route that many people take when they travel across the city. This particular gallery is new. It's the Pool. It's in one of our affordable housing developments. So it's a great opportunity for the residents that live there to have some real exposure to art. I really want to highlight that this is the evolution of the near South Side. It's 20 years in the making of taking an area of town and reimagining what we can do with it. And so we saw the restaurants come up on Magnolia. We've seen the hospital district flourish. And now we're taking that next phase. And these art galleries are part of our state designated cultural district, which the near South Side just not too long ago achieved. Next slide. Saturday was the marker unveiling of Daggett's Crossing. So those of y'all that like to take rides on the Trinity Trail or jog, make sure you take a stop and look at this new marking right off of Cold Springs Road. E.M. Daggett is a name that is marked all across the city. And with the unveiling of this marker, you really see what an impact he truly did have on the foundation of Fort Worth and how that particular crossing is in large part why we're here today, what drew people to Fort Worth. Next slide. Bond meeting coming up. You heard my colleague mention it. I will tell you that District 9's meeting will be Monday, April 4th at the Worth Heights Community Center. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I think that's the last of our council announcements.
Next item is changes in memberships on boards and commissions, and that is board appointments from District 3.
Joseph, where are you? Right back there, Joseph Romero. I just want to say thank you, and I'm asking for him to be appointed to place 3 on the Pedestrian and Bicycle Committee with a term expiring on October 1st, 2023. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. Got a motion from Councilmember Beck.
I make a motion to approve, and I look forward to your service to the city. You do great work already, so congratulations.
Congrats, Joseph. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is Resolution 22-2105, a resolution ratifying all actions taken by the Fort Worth City Council from September 1st, 2021 to March 18th, 2022.
Motion from Carrie. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is Resolution 22-2104, a resolution to continue review of the viability of the publicly funded soccer facility.
We have 2 speakers, but 1 speaker cannot be reached, so our speaker is Mitch Whitten. Oh, he is? Oh, great. They were trying to call you, David. Well, I'll call you next, if that's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I'm Mitch Whitten, Chief Operating Officer of Visit Fort Worth. I live at 2239 Huntington Lane in District 9 in Fort Worth. I represent Visit Fort Worth represents the $2.5 billion tourism industry and more than 28,000 employees in the city. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning about giving our children greater access to sports. But first, I want to thank Councilmember Moon for your proposal to promote soccer at the highest level with a semi-professional team that could become affiliated with the international powerhouse FC Barcelona, as you've already discussed this morning. While you explore that opportunity, I want to remind you of the additional need for multi-purpose fields at the recreation and tournament level for outdoor sports, such as soccer and lacrosse, as CEO Bob Jamieson mentioned last month at our annual meeting. In 2019, a report commissioned by Visit Fort Worth, with support from the Fort Worth Sports Authority, found we simply do not have any tournament-level fields today. The report found too many residents are leaving the market for games and tournaments. That means local money is leaving the city and non-local players and their families are not coming here. We're missing a big opportunity to generate new revenue and new room nights. Even the Fort Worth Youth Soccer Association says they do not have enough fields for the current number of youth who want to participate. So a multi-purpose outdoor youth complex would benefit locals and visitors. Well, actually, it all benefits locals, because when visitors come here and spend money in tourism, as we know, that benefits the city and all local business. Now is the time. If our region is selected to host the 2026 World Cup, the ranks of soccer players in the international spotlight will be on us even more. This is all a big goal of our Fort Worth Sports Commission. Led by Jason Sands, the Sports Commission believes that athletics are both economic development and quality of life. It has been well documented that active children are at less risk for disease and have greater self-esteem and higher test scores in school. Sports tourism is on the rise in Fort Worth thanks to your support, and we look forward to discussing these opportunities with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Our next speaker is David Patty.
Thank you, and good morning. City Council members and staff. Again, my name is David Patty, reside in Watercourse Drive in Fort Worth, Texas, 76109 in District 3. And I'm here on behalf of the Fort Worth Youth Soccer Association. We're an established local 501c3. We have 5,900 currently registered players. And I'm also here to represent those that have been coaches or family members or anybody over the past 50 years. We're glad to be in front of you here today. So the resolution 22-2104 before you speaks to that previous work and what we just heard too. Back in our engagement back in 2019 with the Fort Worth.
The first study we did told us that soccer players and parents and other athletes have to leave Fort Worth to participate in sports. And it said that soccer players and parents of other athletes that don't live in Fort Worth don't ever come to Fort Worth to participate in sports. And by us adding sports facilities, long fields, we could have an economic impact of over $16 million a year by retaining those residents' tax dollars and attracting new tax dollars to our city. Just over the past, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, we saw the impact of Dickies Arena in the Final Four games that occurred. We don't have a basketball team in Dickies Arena, but we have a stadium that attracts basketball teams. And there was, it put Fort Worth on a national stage, in a favorable national stage. And we recognize as a city the significant economic impact of those financial risk that we're taking over the past 8 years as a city to get us where we are today. The second study that we did was, and the first study came back and said they recommended a sports tournament complex. The second study that we did said where? Where do we do that? And there were 3 areas that were put to the top of the list. One being Basswood and 35, the second being Walsh Ranch, and the third being Overton. Overton was bifurcated by a highway. Walsh Ranch will most likely be the final location for a large tournament complex, as was recommended by the study. And then Basswood and 35 had the highest rating, But we had the opportunity to partner with other taxing jurisdictions to participate in this stadium that will cost in excess of $140 million. But for a city, it may only cost us 40% of that revenue, 40% of that overall cost because of the participation by other taxing jurisdictions. And this will be built with a TIF. There's currently 300 acres of land that is owned by a foundation, a nonprofit foundation, who has been looking for community calls to sell this land for. They've owned this land since the 70s. From early on, it was always told to me that was our biggest challenge in this whole thing, was getting that foundation to participate in the project, and at this point, we've been successful with that. In the end, I love the comments by Mitch and the impact that it has on youth. We know that, I would just encourage you, when you talk to parents and grandparents and you're talking about what you're doing this weekend, they'll say, well, I'm going out of town to watch my kids compete in athletic events. Ask them where they're going, and they're not going to say Fort Worth. And we know there is a tremendous demand for sports tourism in Fort Worth, and it's not just relegated to soccer. And we know that we have the resources and ability to add those other sports facilities and arenas so that we can compete in sports tourism, and we can make this a favorable investment for our city. So I look forward to, as we move forward, this is just an M&C to say, hey, staff, do we want to engage those other TIF partners? Do we want to engage a project manager, an architect, to say, what are we truly looking at? And then how do we mitigate those risks? And lastly, I'll say on the financing piece, I will come back and outline how we mitigate risk to the city. So there is no tax increase for this. There is no sacrifice of other tax dollars to complete this. But overall, it's a win for our kids in our city. So with that, I make a motion to second or approve whichever's on the table.
Thank you, Carrie. It looks like it'll be a motion. I can get a second, council, and then I'll turn to everybody for discussion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Michael, I've gone you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, Mitch, thanks for your comments there, and David, too. I heard you, we've been working or talking about this for a number of months, and Bob and Jason and Mike Crum, thanks for all of y'all's efforts here, too. This is not an easy vote of sorts, but I'm committed to the process. We have to continue to look, and I hear what you're saying about finding ways for our youth to play soccer in soccer fields. This is something my predecessor was talking about 5 years ago. We don't have those facilities here now. And so I'm committed to the process to move this forward, so we continue to look and see how these other entities, taxing entities, not just the city of Fort Worth, if they'll come to the table, if they'll also do this as well, to support it. I do think that even if we move forward with this stadium, there are commitments there too, at least to continue to look at a youth-oriented soccer complex. I've had many conversations with Walsh. We have the property there, and they're committed to get that done too. So that's what I'll keep working on, is something in tandem with this proposal, to those youth-oriented, truly youth-oriented soccer fields out there as part of that, and they're supportive of that as well. So that's going to be my motion, and I second that.
Thank you, Michael. Councilmember Flores?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, thank you for the speakers. On this point, I just want to reiterate that I am supportive of getting a semi-professional and hopefully a professional soccer presence here, coupled with a youth soccer component. Our area is a rapidly growing area. This is a demand that we have seen manifest itself. Just look around on any given weekend, you see the desire and need for soccer facilities. So the demand is here, and the potential, is great for the city. Nothing comes without any risk. So this action today, I just want to be clear, and I think Councilmember Moon alluded to it, does not preclude further discussions with the ownership group and the city of Fort Worth.
Gina, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is a very interesting but exciting venture that we're looking at, and I stress the word looking at. Kerry knows that I appreciate his efforts. He's been working on this for years. I would be more happy if we had a venue south of Loop 820 that connects with Fort Worth ISD and other school districts. This is going to primarily partner with KISD, Keller Independent School District. That's not a bad thing. Looking at it again is what we're doing. I will also tell you that we know that there's a need for soccer, but I would also like to see the ownership team put some money on the table, like Jerry Jones did at the Cowboys Stadium. Right now, that is not happening, but Kerry uses the term other people's money, and in this case, it's a good thing because he's worked out a way to hopefully pay for it. But what we have to do is see what the other taxing entities will say. Will they come to the table with us in this venture? And so just know that the action we're taking today is to just explore it more. Again, I'm south of the Loop. I have some areas beyond the Loop, but I really want to see things come like this to all of the school districts that touch Fort Worth. And Robert Stearns, that is a direct message to you because we have kids too who are south of the Loop. But again, I support today's action, but again, looking at this is what we're doing.
Thank you, Gina. Our next speaker is Councilmember Firestone.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to our speakers for sharing your thoughts, Mitch, particularly as a member of the Visit Fort Worth Board. I appreciate that and appreciate the work that Jason's done over the last few years when we started talking about the viability and need of a soccer complex as we described it, singularly for servicing our families locally better and certainly generating sports tourism, which helps a variety of different businesses. So I think that is incredibly important. I will just take a moment to reiterate what everyone has heard from other council members, that this resolution is really continuing to investigate the viability and funding capacity, and we are limiting it to that, which is important. So to me, that is the opportunity to do more due diligence, to gather more information, and make an educated decision based on some probabilities and risk in that assessment. I do think that's important because in that conversation, we're going to be able to talk about all the needs of our sports community. And I think the conversation has focused a lot on soccer, but as a former Fort Worth Youth Lacrosse Association board member, I think it's a mistake not to have that sport, and there are others like flag football and youth football and certainly others that I think we can identify, that those are important to consider because there's a need there and there is a great tourism aspect to bringing families in for those kind of weekend tournaments and so forth. So I'm going to support this to get to the next step, but want to put it in that context that I think there are certainly more conversations and broader interests that we need to investigate. Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you. And Firestone, you said it very well and eloquent today, and I appreciate what you just said. I want to also support us moving forward to continue this conversation. I think that bringing this soccer stadium will definitely support the city of Fort Worth. But I want to add to some of the things that Mayor Pro Tem talked about, as well as Councilman Firestone, is that I represent south of the Loop and east of 35. And when I look and think about our young men and our young boys, our young brothers, who typically deal with gun violence, who deal with black-on-black crime, who deal with not having fathers in their home. And one of the main components to help those young men is sports. It's football, it's basketball, it's flag football, and some play soccer. And so what I want to do is, as we move forward in this process, and we're putting in a lot for this complex and for this youth, we need to also do it for other youth sports, that we can make sure that we just don't touch one ethnic group, and I'm not saying one ethnic group is a part of soccer, but I'm speaking for others, is that we touch all of Fort Worth and we give an option, not just north of the loop, but south of the loop on the east side, where our young children are struggling mentally, emotionally, and financially. So today, my support is for us to continue to move forward. But I'm going to challenge, as Gina talked about the economic development, find places in other areas that we can truly make an economic impact that will support all of Fort Worth. And so I'm grateful for the comments that were said today, and those are my comments for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Councilwoman Beck?
I first want to acknowledge what my colleagues have brought up today about the potential inequity in this particular project, and a call to ensure that as a city that we are investing equally and that we're giving every area of town, north, south, east, or west, the opportunity to grow. Ron Kirk said people will plant themselves where they can flower. And what I've heard on this dais today is that we want to make sure people can plant themselves and flower all across the city. And so I commend you for bringing that to light. In regards to the soccer stadium, I have found myself often frustrated in general terms that we as a community or city leaders previously have been incredibly risk averse. And I haven't quite understood that because we're a city that was really founded by wildcatters, folks that took the ultimate risk. But we have, over the past decades or so, been reluctant to be bold. And I think that this soccer stadium is the opportunity, and the soccer stadium and the youth sports complex, because I don't want that to get lost in this conversation. If we don't do one without the other, we're not going to have the stadium without investing in this sports tourism. But it's important that we be bold, but we not be reckless. And I have some concerns about whether or not financially this project is bold or it's reckless for the city of Fort Worth. And so I support moving forward today. I think with continued negotiation with the developers and the team and all of the entities involved, we can get to a place where it's bold but not reckless with your tax dollars. And so I'm going to vote for it today, and you have my commitment to continue to ensure that we're doing right financially by the city in making this bold investment.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I don't think I missed any other council members, correct? Everybody got to speak. You've all summarized comments we've all had over the last several weeks and months. I'm very supportive of us moving forward with this conversation, but importantly for my friends with Visit Fort Worth here today and Fort Worth Youth Soccer, we will build a youth sports complex in Fort Worth. It is a commitment on this council to do so. And I should apologize, you've had to drag a 5- and 6-year-old around many times on your fields at Fort Worth Youth Soccer. My kids are not soccer players. They get a P for participation, but we so appreciate what you provide to the entire area here in Tarrant County, Parker County, Johnson County, that all come to play on your field. So thank you so much for what you do, and it was just important to me to make sure you know we're committed to making that happen for the future of youth sports here in our community, and as Chris so eloquently said, for all kids in Fort Worth. It's a priority for each of us on council. And with that, I think we have a motion and a second, and we can vote. Motion carries.
Next item is Resolution 22-2107, a resolution increasing the maximum amount to be paid to Bickerstaff, Heath, Delgado, Acosta, LLP as outside legal counsel for assistance to the City Attorney's Office in connection with redistricting.
We have one speaker, Mr. Bob Willoughby.
Hi, my name is Bob Willoughby. I got one thing I'd like to really say here is that the speaker comment card is really doesn't serve much purpose if you can't say what you want to say about the item on the agenda here. When you're restricted only to say what the mayor wants you to say, you're really not getting other people's points of view, and that really takes away from the people comment card there, not to have the freedom to say What you want to say, you can only say what they say, what they approve. So I'll probably get shut down pretty quick here, and that'll prove my point. But this $125,000 connected with the redistrictizing, my point is nothing should go forward with redistrictizing until they stop. I've been at all the meetings, task force back in 2015, and when we had the part of the redistrictizing, that you were supposed to come in, the people would come in and give their points and their opinions and all that about it and be a part of it. They didn't answer the main questions. They would not talk about Proposition 2, which is the heart of redistrictizing. And when we speak about it a little later tonight, they stopped me from showing a video on that too, to prove my point. So it's been sensitized, it's been stripped down to where we can't say what we want to say. We can only say what they allow us to say, like Chris, only what you want to say, okay? We have no public presentation today on this agenda. We used to have one. All these people talking about the kids and the soccer and all that, that's good. That's really good. These people taking credit about how important the kids are, they took the kids' rights away to speak here. We're not on this agenda.
Bob, will you stick to the agenda
I'm
item?
off track now, so we have to stay on track. Yes, ma'am, I'll stay on track.
Thank you.
Okay, we won't dare get off track, because if the truth comes out, it could be very embarrassing for these people, okay? So we better stay on track. We better not tell how Mr. Moon said that we can't put Proposition 2 back on the ballot. It was already on the ballot. It was passed.
Bob,
But we
we're
put
really off
Proposition
topic.
3 on for a $70,000
If you have
raise.
any other
Thank you.
items, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you. Can I get a motion and a second, please? Got a motion from Councilmember Crane, a second from Councilmember Moon. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is Resolution 22-2099, a resolution making certain findings of certain Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport facilities as public facilities and approve airport projects and related matters.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Gina. I've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ordinance 22-2100, an ordinance approving the form of the 63rd supplemental concurrent bond ordinance and requesting its passage by the city councils of the city of Dallas and Fort Worth, authorizing the preparation of the official statement and authorizing the authorized officers to take other necessary actions in connection therewith.
And a second. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is 22-2101, an ordinance approving the form of the 64th supplemental concurrent bond ordinance and requesting its passage by the city councils of the cities of Dallas and Fort Worth, authorizing the preparation of the official statement and authorizing the authorized officers to take necessary actions in connection therewith.
Got a motion, council? And a second. Thank you. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is 22-2102, an ordinance declaring certain findings, providing for the release of land in Parker County, Texas, generally bordered by Bear Creek Road, Kelly Road, and U.S. Highway 377, including certain right-of-way from the ETJ of the city of Fort Worth, providing that this ordinance shall amend every prior ordinance in conflict herewith, providing that this ordinance shall be cumulative and all prior ordinances not in direct conflict, providing for severability and naming an effective date.
We've got one speaker, but only if there's opposition, and there is none. Can I motion, council?
Yes, I'll just say this. I move to approve the Dana, staff, Travis, Marcella Olson, thanks for working on this. I don't take giving up our ETJ lightly, but when it is in 20 or 30 years that we might actually deliver services there, but there is someone that wants to develop actually large acre lots on this property, and we're in a housing sort of shortage at this point, then I'm all in favor of it. So thanks for y'all's work on all of that.
Thank you, Michael.
With that, move to approve.
I've got a second. Thank you from Elizabeth. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is 22-2103, an ordinance amending the city code of the City of Fort Worth, 2015, as amended, Chapter 35, Water and Sewers, Article 3, Charges, amending Section 35-10, to retitle the section and provide clarifications for usage, and amend Section 35-63 to retitle the section and add a procedure for notification and placement of liens, providing that this ordinance shall be cumulative of all ordinances, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Can I get a motion, council?
I want to move to approve, and I also want to thank our legal department for continually working to make sure that we have everything we need shored up and the city is in the best possible position. So thank y'all for your work on this.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And a second, council?
I seconded and ditto to what Councilmember Beck said.
Thank you. Any other discussion, council? If not, please vote. And motion carries.
Ordinance 22-21-2106, an ordinance adopting a single-member city council district plan, providing that this ordinance shall be cumulative, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. I think our first speaker is a caller. Are we good to go there with Mr. Flores?
Fernando?
Yes.
Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Mayor Parker and City Council members, my name is Fernando Flores, and I reside at 2740 Hemphill in the great neighborhood of South Hemphill Heights in City Council District 9 presently. I am here as a representative of the United Hispanic Council of Tarrant County. Yesterday, I had the privilege of watching the video of your last map drawing session on March 23rd. I urge people to watch that video too, because it's an example of how hard as a council you work, and I want to thank you for that. From the very beginning, you as a group have advocated for the creation of a second Hispanic Opportunity District in the city, in the South Side, anchored in the South Side, and we appreciate that, let me tell you, because it's been a long, long road. Very simply, people like myself and others have been working on creating a second Hispanic district since the 1990 census cycle, and a dream of ours will be fulfilled today. I hope that when you approve the resolution. It's been a great honor, and it feels good to be close to succeeding, and I want to let you know that we're in support of MAP Anna and whatever minor adjustments you make. And again, thank you for a great job, and also to Mr. Costa and city staff for the great job they also did during this whole process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Our next speaker is Rick Herring.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council, City Manager Cook. Rick Herring, 1801 Bolton. I'm the moderator for the Riverside Alliance, a coalition of 7 neighborhood associations in the Riverside community, and the first and oldest neighborhood alliance in Fort Worth, and we'll be celebrating a belated 25th anniversary coming up next month, and you'll be hearing more about that. Before we get into the subject at hand, I just want to say I attended one of the bond meetings that was last week at the Riverside Community Center, and shout out to the staff, the presenters and the staff that was there. It was an excellent presentation. But now to redistricting. Aren't you glad it's almost over? You're minutes away, and you'll probably never have to go through that again as an elected representative. But anyway, we're almost there. I just want to say that in regards to Riverside, the map that you're proposing to adopt today is really the realization of a decades-long goal of the Riverside community to be unified within one city council district. And I'll even use the word realization of a dream. We've wanted this and worked for this for a long time, so we appreciate the direction you're going in. You've seen me and heard from me way more than you wanted to. I've just been the voice, but there are scores and scores and scores of other Riverside citizens that wanted this same thing. And if, fortunately for us, when the map started being drawn, it looked like we were going to be together and be able to achieve that goal. Otherwise, you would have seen a whole lot more folks from Riverside. But just believe me, there's many, many, many people behind this effort, and it's not just me. And Councilman Nettles is gone, but I will say he had a meeting in one of the neighborhoods in Riverside that he represents. I wasn't able to attend. I was invited, but I think the question was asked by him of the people that were there if they were supportive of this effort, and I was told that they were overwhelmingly, they wanted to be unified with the rest of the Riverside community. So thank you to the council. I've got to say thank you to the fabulous staff, Fernando Costa, Michelle Swindle, Michelle Goot, Leanne Guzman, and many other people that I haven't interacted with, but they've just made it a great process, and we appreciate you so much. And I feel like the process was open. Any citizen or resident that wanted to had every opportunity to address you, to address the task force and everything else. So I can't imagine there's been any criticism for the process. Let me just say really quickly, thank you, Councilman Moon. I said this last week. I didn't know if I'd have another opportunity, but from day one, you were on board with what we wanted to do, and we never had to convince you. And I just want to say to Elizabeth Beck, Councilwoman Beck, excuse me, District 9, you had to give up a lot, and probably more than any other council member. And we appreciate your support, and I appreciate you. You're going to rub off on me and make me get emotional. But I appreciate you coming to me when it looked like things may not be going our way.
Thank you, Rick.
And talking about that. But thank you so much
Appreciate
for your
it.
support. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Alex Jimenez.
Mayor Parker, council people, I'm Alex Jimenez. I reside at 245 Willow Ridge Road in East Fort Worth, White Lake Hills, where we like to say that it's where the city's out your front door and the woods are outside your back door. It's a beautiful place, and I would recommend that a lot of you come visit and stay for a while. I handed out a quote from Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the arena, and I hope you each have one. And I was reading about that. He was actually giving a speech in France. It was based on citizenship. And Fernando, if you're still listening, yeah, it's the 1990 census, the 2000 census, to 2010 census, and now. And we're finally getting that second district that a lot of folks like Gilbert Garcia, Sam Garcia, Fernando, and others have really worked so hard to get to this today. And I shed a tear last Tuesday when you guys came together. And I reached out to some of you, and thank you for your service. I heard last night that there was crying last Tuesday. There was almost some fighting going on. And I said, well, it sounds like lunch after Sunday Mass at the Jimenez family when I was growing up. I had 8 sisters and 5 brothers, and we fought, and we argued. But you know what? After we got done with that, we put our arms around each other and said, we got to go to work because we're all we got. And you, from Teddy Roosevelt's citizenship, you are the people we look to do what you did last Tuesday. And I thank you, just like Fernando did. And I grew up in West Texas, and I know a lot of people kid me about my voice, but it's all I got. And at the end of the day, they used to say there, it said, some of my friends are for it, and some of my friends are against it, and I'm with my friends. And I even have friends that are named Fernando, and some are for it, some are against it. But I hope we can all go to lunch after this and put arms around each other, and let's work to make this city even better than it is. And as I sit down, I want to just remind you one thing. Please remind is it called the Fort Worth Sports Authority? That it's not the Far North Fort Worth Sports Authority, but it's all of Fort Worth. Nettles, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm an East Sider, won't ever leave, and will always speak up and not apologize for saying bring jobs, bring more density, bring better education to all parts of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Our next speaker is Lucretia Powell, followed by Bob Willoughby.
Good morning. I'm Lucretia Powell. I live in Mayor Pro Tem's district, but I stand today on behalf of myself, but still part of the redistricting task force team. Councilman Nettles, Chris Nettles, chose me to be his representative. And the reason why I say on behalf of myself, yet the team, the redistricting task force looked at several maps, and we gave our thoughts and opinions and had meetings and discussion, just like the gentleman before me spoke. He said he heard about the fighting, the bickering, and some tears. There was some within the redistricting team, but however, I believe that I encountered those situations different personally because I encountered jabs from within the team as well as outside the team from certain community of interest. But nevertheless, my point in that is that when I was the only one who opposed Map X, and when I was the only one, perhaps, who did not respond back to Mr. Bill Scher's personal email for as the redistricting team supporting Map V4, I stood alone. But even in standing alone, it was well worth the effort to see on last week the process, the 8 or 9 hours that the diocese, you all stood and rigorously worked through. I am glad to say today, thank you publicly, Mr. Nettles, for choosing such an awesome representative to represent you on the task force team. I do hate that Mayor Pro Tem's, you will no longer be my representative, but I don't know who's going to be over that new district, but I do look forward to welcome whoever it is, male or female. As a whole, every district had to give up, but we all had to give up in order for the betterment of the city of Fort Worth. And it's my prayer that we continue to move forward and be strengthened one to another and for each other.
Thank you very much, Ms. Powell. We appreciate you. Next speaker is Bob Willoughby, followed by Jennifer Crossland.
Once again, the speaker comment doesn't do much good when you're limited to what you can say. Let me start off with, I did a video for the night, and I brought it yesterday morning down here and asked if they could tell me by noon whether or not they needed it edited or what. Well, they called me at 3 o'clock and said, Mr. Lee, it's got to be edited a lot, and I did. I left in what the lawyer said I could leave in, and I took out what. The only thing is that I was able to get it down here with 15 minutes to spare before closing, and that surprised them, I guess, because they called me before I got home and said, Mr. Willoughby, you can't play that video either. So now I'm a bit confused. I left in what the lawyer said I could, but they're telling me I can't. So I'm going to try to talk about it unless the mayor stops me, okay? The lawyer said I could. So Mayor, if this is okay, because I'm confused, y'all tell me one thing, you tell me another. This redistrictizing is being done by race. It should be done by numbers of people, not race. When the Hispanics come here and say that I cannot be a good representative in their district because I'm white, it has to be a Hispanic. I take offense to that. I don't like that. And I don't like council members and mayors that don't speak about that either. When a council member calls me a racist with no backing. They did, here publicly. And no backing, has never apologized or said anything about it. These people up there, I have not patronized none of those maps because they never answered a question from the beginning about Proposition 2. When they don't answer a question, that's time to stop. That's time to fix it, not with them. It rolled right along because they knew from the beginning they're going to do what they want to do. And that's what's wrong with this. I'm telling you, this whole thing is a scam. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just, it's really, it's not done for the people. It's just done by a pack of lies, really. I mean, to add 2 more council members to this city, there's 900,000 people here that don't have a clue of what's going on. And when these people come here and say everybody knows, that's not true. It's not true at all. And not everybody got to speak. No, that's not true either. That's not true. During the 101 history, look at it. I called in to ask questions. They would not talk about Proposition 2. They will not talk about it. Mr. Moon said Proposition 2 was voted on. That's why we wouldn't put it back on the ballot. But he put Proposition 3 back on the ballot, and it was voted on. What's the difference, Mr. Moon, between 2 and 3? One's a $70,000 raise, and the other's a $50,000 raise, and the other one saves the public $200,000. The one I want to put on could save the public $200,000. You're going to cost us $700,000. For what? 2 more council members that don't answer questions, that lie? This is no good. And if there's any way the feds can come in and take over, you people are not capable of doing this job. You're not mature enough. You're fighting, one's crying. You're immature. You're overriding people. Bye. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Crossland, followed by Holly Plemons.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jennifer Crossland. My zip code is 76116. I'm here to talk against this map. I live in Ridgely Hills, and Como is my neighbor. I don't like the idea of that being an island. And let me tell you a little history with me and why this is important. I moved to Fort Worth almost 10 years ago. I moved to Arlington Heights with my brother to open Pacific Table Restaurant, and we lived on the little side of the other side of Como that I live on now. I used to run around Lake Como because it's a nice lake, but eventually I had to stop because the wild dogs got too aggressive and it just scared me too much, so I had to stop running around the lake, which was a bummer. But here we are years later, now I live on the other side of Como and in Ridgely, and a lot of the small businesses that I frequent are in Como. Every day I'm there. I vote there. My kids play on the playgrounds in Como. I don't understand why you'd want to take that out. It doesn't make sense to me. And in fact, my gym that I go to almost every day, we have drive-by shootings behind the gym. So I've been working with Dr. Bird and now Michael Crane on getting the streetlights behind there. I'm told there's a plan. I'm told they're working on it. It's been a year and a half. We're still waiting. There's still drive-by shootings. The space next door is for, it's like a place where you put your stuff. What's that called? Thank you, a storage facility. They've been broken in 3 times, and they just opened less than a year ago. So a lot of people have a vested interest in Como. I know Como wants to be by itself, but I'm here to tell you right now, I love Como. I love going to Como every day. I support the small businesses. I'm here to speak on behalf of those small businesses, many of which are owned by minorities or women. And I also want to say that I think it is not okay to make districts based on race. That is patently wrong to me. I don't like it. We don't see color. We see color, but we don't see color in my family. That's the way my kids will stay. That's the way my family will stay. And generations of my family, we've always said, you look at the character of the person, not the skin color. And I'd like you to reconsider that in these maps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our next speaker is Holly Plemons, followed by Fernando Peralta.
Holly Clemens. I'm the mom of 3 in Fort Worth ISD, a lifelong resident of Tarrant and 20-year resident of District 6 in 3 different houses. I have loved living in my neighborhood. I love Fort Worth. It's my home, my community, but it now feels like a foreign land to me. It's no secret that I'm not a fan of Fort Worth ISD, but that's not why I'm here today. I'm here today to talk to you about your job, the maps, and being respectful of those whose money you spend. I've been told by several of you that you're tired of the debates over the maps. Nobody's going to be happy. You know you're going to get sued, and you've got other work to do. You're ready to move on. Please, tell me what work is more important than making sure that all of your constituents that have put you in those seats have fair representation. Constituents that are forced to fund this clown town, but you don't want to waste any more time on. Wow. That's a shot straight through my soul. I'm forced to fund what will hurt my family, while people who don't care about me or my life get to pull the strings. In less than 1 year under Williams, I have watched my community change, and not for the better. Now you want to change our representative again and lump my community into a whole new district with a community of a way different vibe than mine. Wedgwood can't always be the city's punching bag. Give us a break. The Anna map is going to bring a lawsuit, and this council is prepared to just pass the map. Force taxpayers to fund both sides of this lawsuit. Stop wasting our money. Have stronger backbones than the bullies that sit amongst you. Please, represent all residents. Work harder. I'm your job. You work for me. And right now, as your employer, I am not a happy camper. Do you ever think about us or just what's best for you? Our taxes are outrageous, and now you ask for more money in your salaries. Here's a clue. We're not happy with what you're doing to our city. We're not going to grant you a triple raise that comes with a clause for forever raises at your discretion, not the tax-paying voters. How disrespectful can you be? It's hard to live on $25,000 to $29,000 a year. Please, don't sign up for a job that pays that then. Unbelievable to ask for a raise at all, but especially after 8 months on the job of public servants. We are struggling too, but not because we picked the wrong job. We are struggling because of politicians and taxes. Enough of this. We can't take any more. You go learn to live on less. Maybe y'all should pull your kids from private and give Fort Worth ISD a try. Maybe you'll become aware that all the stories you hear are true. The facts are out there. You just have to sit and look for them versus be told what to believe. Why can't we just use Mr. Moon's map? It was the most fair for all colors of Fort Worth residents that are forced to fund this city. Please don't approve this Anna map. Go back and spend more time on this. We deserve it, even if it inconveniences you. This is our lives, our homes, where we live, and with one bang of a gavel, you destroy that work for all taxpayers. Make good choices.
And after Mr. Peralta, it's a phone call to John Crawford, but I think they were having trouble reaching him.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Obviously, I didn't get the memo about being suit and tie today. I came in my uniform. I'm the third Fernando, because you've heard Fernando's talk. Obviously, I was born in the 90s. I wasn't working on redistricting, but I've been very passionate and vocal about this redistricting process since the beginning. Obviously, being president of Las Familias de Rosemont Neighborhood Association on the south side and a strong advocate for our Hispanic community, I do want to make one point of clarification that was said, that our community never said anybody that wasn't Hispanic couldn't represent our community, but we wanted an opportunity to have more representation on this council. I would also suggest that people speaking tonight read a book that I read to my son, and it's called Anti-Racist Baby. And it's been on the news. Get educated. Secondly, I do want to make it very clear that I am supportive of this map, even though it breaks up Rosemont. This map has given us the second Latino Opportunity District that we asked for. Obviously not as strong, because there has been other maps out there that showed us that there could be strong numbers. But hey, after this grueling battle, we'll take it. But I do want to make it very clear that Rosemont and neighborhoods like Poly are still split. But through this process, even with a lot of mixed emotions, some misinformation, we've gotten to this point. And so I do want to say thank you to council, every single one of y'all. Even though some of us might not be friends, I still appreciate every single one of y'all. And I look forward to continuing the accountability and the awareness so we do stand together more as a city and do better for all our communities. So with that being said, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. Our next speaker, did we have Mr. Crawford on the phone? No? Okay. Is Carlos Tercios?
Carlos? Carlos?
Hello?
Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Carlos Tercios. Morning, Mayor, City Council, and City Council Manager David Cook. The reason I'm calling today and doing public comments is because I encourage the council to vote down the redistricting map that y'all have in front. There are several communities that are still not satisfied with the boundaries whatsoever, and I also want to vouch for Wedgewood. That's the area where I live in. I don't agree in moving in District 9. Wedgewood has historically always been in District 6, and I think it's a disservice for Wedgewood to be integrated into District 9. I did the math, and I saw the precincts, of course, that are being incorporated into District 9, and it just looks like the incumbent for District 6 is wanting to push all of Wedgewood, since that's literally the area where the opponent had the highest margins of victory. So I'm very concerned that there's a political move to push it down into District 9. I don't want to be in District 9, and if I am forced to be in District 9, and so are my other neighbors and my family, we will mobilize and, of course, elect someone new. But there are many problems with this map. This map does not look well. I encourage the council, of course, to follow, hopefully in the future, because it's a learning experience, but to follow Fort Worth ISD's model. They handled their redistricting process in one day. And the only issue was, of course, a precinct change. And it was handled one day, they voted in, it was all done. They respected the redistricting map from the committee. So I understand that it's a messy time, and, it's not going to be, it's not going to be perfect, but I highly encourage y'all to listen to the community, to listen to Wedgewood. Please vote down this map. And please respect the wishes of the constituents. Y'all listen to Polly, y'all listen to other communities. I think today y'all should listen to Wedgewood as well, including me as well. And hopefully y'all can get a better map. I mean, y'all have already set precedent. Y'all have moved maps in the past. Work together, and it's a disservice that there are
of the neighborhood on top of the median income surrounding Como, that it was important that they were with neighborhoods of socioeconomic status. And also, I think something that we've been really responsive to is the requests of neighborhoods all across the city. And Como was really clear about requesting to be in District 6 in this process. So I think that's important to put on the record. I'll also say that, last Wednesday, we had a lot of conversation about neighborhoods that are historic to District 6, like Wedgewood, and also Arc Road Neighborhood Association. And I think it's important that in this redistricting process, we also recognize that there were many neighborhoods that were historic to districts that changed in this process, in this map, in order to achieve our goals of honoring the growth of the city and ensuring that our council represents the beautiful and rich diversity of our city. So I'm just grateful for this process. It was a tough one, but I'm grateful for where we landed, and I'll be supporting the map today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Turn to Councilmember Moon.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to speak to the process overall, and it's not just a redistricting process. It's an election cycle that Fort Worth has had over the years, and you've heard some complaining today, I guess, about time restraints and things of that nature. But The redistricting didn't start in 2022. It started in 2016 when we as a council went to the voters and said, do you want to add 2 more council districts? And there were other propositions during that charter election. And we as a city host charter elections every 4 to 5 years in even number years. Every 2 years, in odd number years, we host elections for city council members and mayors. And then every 4 years, 2018, 2022, we do bond elections. And we try to keep those, we and they, it's prior councils that have put this election cycle in process. We try to keep those topics separate with every election cycle. In 2016, there were several items on the ballot, one of which increases the number of council districts from 8 council districts to 10. We've seen our population increase. I was opposed to that increase in council districts. I voted against it. It passed by 100 votes. But that was the voice of the people. And so when others complain about us not having time to change, our next step, the election was over, the people had voted. The next step was, what does the 2020 census data show? And then from there, we get that data and we draw the maps for 10 council districts. And we chose to do this on the dais, at the work sessions, in a public forum. And no one saw that redistricting maps process at the state legislature when those maps were drawn, at the state senate when those maps were drawn, or the federal congressional maps when those maps were drawn. So I'm proud of the transparent process that we as a city went through, following the process that was set before this current elected body. I will also speak to the timing, is that, to be fair to council members, it was important that we have this done by June, essentially, really to allow for legal challenges, which I do expect. And I don't expect the map to hold up, but I do expect legal challenges. We always have, regardless of whatever map we put forth. And then also being fair to elected officials, to give them a chance to reside in a council district by the July deadline. That is part of our city charter. So I hope that helps with the transparency and the timing consideration that others have spoke to today. And I'll let my other council members speak, but that's my sentiment. I will be supporting this map. It seems early on the adage was it takes 5 people to get things done at City Hall. And I'm proud to say I think we'll get 9 people together to get something done at City Hall today.
Thank you, Carrie. Our next speaker is Councilmember Flores, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
Thank you, Mayor Parker. The comments so far have illustrated one point that I want to drive home. This is a map of compromise. The operative word being compromise. Not everyone will be pleased with it. We've heard from some that aren't, but fairly so, we also heard from many who are in support of it. It's part of the democratic process. It has achieved improved equitable and proportionate representation consistent with the 2020 census data. It established a second Hispanic Opportunity District in compliance with the Voting Rights Act. For those that aren't familiar with it, it's not a difficult read. I suggest you do read it. Council based our decisions on many factors, again, consistent with what I've already mentioned, but more importantly, and I've heard a few people say it, and factually they're incorrect, there have been race-neutral considerations built into this process. We have looked at those when it comes to communities of interest. There are social, economic considerations, political preferences, and community cohesiveness. All these we endeavored to abide by, and these are supported in relevant case law. I want to thank the Redistricting Committee, its chair, former Councilman Salaspino, each of my fellow council members and mayor, for all the time, energy, and work spent in this public process. Keep in mind that in times of challenge and difficulty, relationships are tried but also strengthened. And a special thanks to you, the public, who have come to these meetings consistently, gave us your input, your perspectives. These were taken into account in the process that eventually arrived at this map of compromise.
Thank you, Carlos. Our next speaker is Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
I want to thank everyone who participated, who chose to participate in this process, which has seen tears, which has seen yelling, which has seen this council like I've never seen it before. I will tell you the information that the 2020 census gave us dictated that we add 2 more districts. My district right now is bigger than the city of Tyler. It's 1 person. And so I welcome the idea of shrinking the population down. I think this new map will take us down to about 95,000 or so. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you need to know that there were sacrifices made that you probably don't think much about. But I just want you to know that I am so very proud of Carlos Flores for making the point of making sure we recognize the Hispanic presence in this city. Back in 1977, when I was a reporter, I think we had Zapata, who was the one Hispanic representative. It's time for another. And so if that's a problem, I don't know what to tell you. But representation is important. I want to acknowledge Councilwoman Beck, whose sacrifice is more than people realize. What she did in terms of yielding to the will of the body was shaved off part of her district to help create that second minority opportunity district for Hispanics. I think she is to be recognized and commended for that. That's why there were tears, because that neighborhood had a sense of cohesiveness, and I think that'll maintain. If you live around the corner from a friend, I think even after redistricting takes place, you're going to still have a friend around the corner. I will also tell you that when it comes to the participation, you heard the term redistrictizing by Mr. Bob Willoughby, and he talked about redistrictizing not being open to the public. It was very open, but here's the catch. People have to read. A former council member, Kelly Allen Gray, would tell me reading is fundamental. I would suggest to each of you right now, if you don't subscribe to City News, you should do so. Go to fortworthtexas.gov. I preach that everywhere I go. Don't know how to get your trash picked up? Go to fortworthtexas.gov. Subscribe to my Fort Worth app. You see street lights out, let us know. Nobody is driving around daily looking out for those basic needs. We need engagement. And so I am glad this process is over. I did not engage in the process of map drawing. I don't like that. I would have been pleased if we had just taken what the task force gave us and tweaked that. But I didn't oppose council members who did participate in map drawing. But I think it's because of that participation is why you saw that yelling and stuff last week or whenever we were here. My days run together. But it's been a process, and at the end of the day, we're all going to be people who live in Fort Worth, no matter whose council district you're in. And I think we're going to be okay. Those are my remarks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Now to Councilmember Nettles.
Thank you, Mayor. Throughout this process, towards the end, I will look at Fernando Acosta and I say, I believe we have a map. He say, thank you. So I'm gonna say it today. I believe we have a map. Don't do it. What we have learned is that you don't have the votes until the votes are taken. And I want to start out, and I want to take my time because this is going to affect the city of Fort Worth for the next 10 years, 12 years. And so I want to make sure that I hit some points. And from day one, I understood the task of redistricting was to establish a second Latino Hispanic opportunity district. We can't determine the outcome of any election. If we could determine the outcome of the election, you wouldn't see what you see today. but people worked hard to get to these seats. And that's why we have to wait till the election process. So the only thing that we can do is make it an opportunity district. And that was the task at hand. I supported an IRC, an independent redistricting committee, to be put in place. We didn't have the votes. And the prior council before us didn't agree with that. And so the best thing we could do was to reestablish the task force. Dr. Williams, myself, and other council members, and put in that we should do an independent redistricting task force. And so we just reestablished what was already in place. And so we gave them opportunity to, they didn't draw maps, they looked at maps. And the maps that they chose was Map X. It completely, and I say completely, disregarded one of the criterias, and that was to keep community of interest together. It drew up, it just split community of interest completely. One of the things it also did is back when we went to single-member districts, District 8 was put together to be a black district. In that new map, it disregarded. It completely disarrayed District 8. And we as a council, or the majority, or some of us, did not agree with Map X. And so what we did was we made revisions to Map X. And you can go to the slides and see that Fernando put up the different changes. Some made 50 changes, some made 20 changes. But I want to tell the task force that we appreciate your efforts. We appreciate you taking your time. We appreciate you submitting us a map. We honor you that. We took your map and we made changes to it that will make all of council come to a consensus. Mayor Maddie Parker has been from day one saying she wants this council to be as a consensus and not a 5-4, where we all can work to a compromise. And so as we go farther and we talk about dealing with Poly and dealing with the economics of Poly being historically in District 8, and when we started making changes at the last day of moving pieces into the new district and taking other pieces out, it started diluting the Hispanic vote, the VAP, voting age population. And we refused to dilute that population. When we started on the last day, we were at 60%. We got it back to 58.7 something, right at 59% VAP. It was our effort from day one to draw a second Latino Hispanic opportunity district. I want to talk to the fact that some of the Hispanic community think we're not fighting for the Latino community. And I want to tell you that those tears that you saw, us going back and forward, us discussing it publicly, was making sure that we did the right thing. We didn't get to wherever we wanted to get to, but we got darn close. We could have chose a map that disarrayed and did not have an opportunity Latino district. There was maps out there. There were several maps out there, but this council did not do that. It's because we understand that we need more representation. The V4 horseshoe map that was voted down during the last meeting, it was voted down, and we started making revisions to Councilman Moon's map that worked on with Councilman Nettles. We started making revision to that map. And I want to tell you that some of you that didn't watch it and some of you that was not in the room, because when you're in the room, you can actually see what is going on. As we was making changes to that map, the feel just wasn't right, that we were going to leave out a true opportunity on the table. And my counterpartner, Councilwoman Beck, said, can we reconsider the horseshoe map? Can we reconsider the opportunity to really create a second Latino district, knowing that once we considered that map, it was going to completely take a chunk out of her district? I want to give the same sentiments that Mayor Pro Tem said. We appreciate you, Councilwoman Beck, for your willingness to give up pieces of your district that historically you lived in, your family lived in, Worth Heights, and other areas that you truly love to represent, but for the sake of the community, for the sake of the people, you was willing to do that. There are senators now that have received new maps that they possibly won't go back to the Senate because how they drew those maps. They are good representatives, but because one party drew a map to make it better for them, they might not have the opportunity to do that. We didn't do that here at the council. We didn't choose, and I'm proud to say we didn't choose party lines here at the council. We chose community interests. Thank you, Rick, for what you said. We chose to keep Riverside together. We chose, and even as it related to Wedgewood, in some of the maps, it was going to be split up. But Councilman Jarrett said Wedgewood don't want to be split up, and we agree with that. But it did not fit in District 6. It had to go in District 9. These are some of the changes that had to be made in order to make this process move further along. And I want to talk to, as Carlos talked about, compromise. And I kind of wrote some things down that District 3 didn't get a chance to keep the historical Como in its district, which it was not Councilman Crane willing to give it up. Councilman Crane has wholeheartedly represented Como. When they called, he answered. He might not look like Como represented the people, but he represented them. And he historically had to give that up. District 4 and 7 wanted 2 new districts, far North Fort Worth. They didn't get that. They also wanted the population to be lower to expect the growth that is going to continue to come. They didn't get that either. District 5 gave up Meadow Creek, the Lancaster Corridor, working on the BRT, gave up Wilbarger, Village Creek. Compromise. District 9 didn't keep Echo Heights, portions of near side close to I-35, Brentmore, Worth Heights, part of the compromise. District 8 didn't keep Riverside, Greenway, Meadowbrook, Lancaster Corridor, Ruby Cary Library, part of the compromise. There are other districts that stay more intact than others, but it's part of the compromise. But let me say what we did create. We created a true second Latino opportunity district that when 23 comes, it is our hope that we will not have just one Hispanic on this council. We will have 2, to give the minorities an opportunity to elect a representative of their choice. I will end with this. This is not the best map. It's not the most popular map. It's not an Oscar-winning map. It's not a Republican map. It's not a Democrat map. It's not a staff drawing map. It is truly a compromise map that this entire council will vote for approval today. I want to thank our colleagues. I want to thank my district director, who we together spent tireless hours drawing this map. And we took this map and made amendments and revisions to it on the last day. And I want to thank all of you being a part of the process. And I look forward to working with you as we sit in this dais to make other changes as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nettles. Councilmember Beck?
Caught me off guard there, sorry. Rick, I will tell you that when I was embarrassed that I cried, one of my predecessors said to me, "That's what we do here in District 9, so you'll fit right in." So I'm just carrying on a tradition there for you. I want to open with, I see color. I see it, and it is a beautiful bouquet that makes up this vibrant city that I have the honor and the opportunity to get to sit and represent a large chunk of that population. During this process, we heard many of those voices, whether it be here at the microphone, in the onslaught of emails that we received, or text messages, phone calls, talking about a dream that they had, a dream to have their voice heard on this dais. And with this map, we have opened the door to that opportunity to see that dream actualized for so many people in this city. We heard from Como that they have been historically disenfranchised. And I don't think that that is a dig at Michael Crane. I agree with Councilman Nettles that you do an exceptional job at representing all of your constituents, from Ridgely to Como to Las Vegas Trail. You are a very hard worker, and they were incredibly lucky to have you for this period of time. But I can also empathize with being from a group of people that have seen their voices snatched from them so often by leaders. I think the people that you see here on this dais are truly committed to representing Fort Worth, regardless of what you look like, where you live, or what your socioeconomic status is. That has not always historically been the case, not just here in the city of Fort Worth, but in this state and in our nation. We have denied that voice for so long. And so I want to thank every person on this council, particularly you, Michael Crane, and Chris Nettles, because huge sacrifices had to be made to allow the opportunity for that dream. And when we vote on this map today, we are opening that door. And I look forward to seeing a son or daughter of Como on this dais. I look forward to seeing a Latina from the South Side join us on this dais, because they are important voices in the room. And I think they will make our city better to have a rich diversity of not just skin tones of the color that we see on this dais, but experiences, backgrounds. And I think you see it here in this diversity on this council. And I have no doubt in my mind that we were able to create this opportunity to see a dream actualized because of the people you have sitting on this dais right now, because you have people truly committed and wrestling with what is the best job we can do to answer the calls that we have heard from the people of Fort Worth. I want to thank the task force. I think it's really important as a leader, not a politician, but a leader, to admit when you were wrong. And I was one of those folks that thought going this task force route would add additional transparency to it. It would add additional public comment. And I felt like that's what we were hearing from our constituents, and that's what Fort Worth wanted to see. And I think there was fear, because we did see often in redistricting, to the victor goes the spoils, and you will see one side of the aisle or the other rip up districts and absolutely silence folks. We saw that happen with our Senate District 10. We didn't do that here in Fort Worth. We didn't do that at all. We really worked together to make that happen. Thank you for your time, for those of you that drew maps and submitted them to the task force. I know that many of you feel like it was in vain. I will tell you that there was lots of discussion about this process and how we could make it the best process, and we weren't always perfect. Sometimes it was a little clunky. Sometimes it was a little confusing to our residents. Most of the time, it was a little confusing to us, too. We were just trying to get it right. And so it's why you saw changes. It's because we really, truly were trying to do what is best. Having gone through this process now, one thing I can tell you is that it is inherently a political process, but not necessarily in the way that you think. Sure, there was some squabbling over, roads or stadiums or, neighborhoods, but it wasn't for the benefit of an individual council person. It was for the benefit of the city, and we were advocating on behalf of our neighborhoods. Whether it's something we personally wanted to lose or to keep a neighborhood, we honored their voices to the best of our ability as they came through and really shared with us their desires. When we're elected here, whether you agree with our politics, our ideas, our platform, you're really electing people to, you're electing our judgment, and you're asking us to stand up here or sit up here and make really tough decisions. You're asking us to weigh all the competing interests. And if there's something this 9 months has taught me, is that perspective is a lot. And whatever is most important to you, you will center and things will radiate from that. And I don't think it'll be a surprise that a lot of people have a different center and what they radiate's a little different. And it becomes our job up here to have that tussle and have that conversation and wade through that and determine what is best and how we best navigate those competing interests and how we prioritize them. This map was a compromise, and by its very definition, a compromise cannot be made without each one of us giving just a little. The result should be a begrudging acceptance. And I think that while we're all proud of what we did on this dais, no one is doing jumping jacks because we all had to make some really tough decisions. And so, thank you for the task force. I think the people elected us to make those decisions, and ultimately council made those decisions. And I understand not everyone will agree with that, but I think we came out with a much stronger Latina opportunity district because of it. I think that we saw our neighborhoods really honored in a way to the best of our ability that we could. I want to finish on sacrifice because I appreciate my colleagues and their acknowledgement of the sacrifice that I made. And I want to be clear that the sacrifice is giving up neighborhoods that I love to represent, that have historically been in District 9. But we haven't talked about the gain and the opportunity with this new district. The South Side is where my family's Fort Worth story started. It's where my mom grew up in Worth Heights. It's where my grandmother owned a business. But my Fort Worth story started in Wedgwood. And Wedgwood was where I grew up. It's where I went to elementary. It's where I went to middle. It's where I went to high school. And I am so excited to get to have that story in District 9. And I hear that you're a little upset. And maybe I don't have your same political views, but I work really hard on this council to represent every single person. I don't care if you agree with me or not. I'll still fight for you, and I will still fight for Wedgwood. And I can assure you that there is no one on this dais, no one that is more loyal and more proud to get to represent all of those W streets that, that we see in the southwest portion of Fort Worth. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Councilmember Crane, I think I missed you earlier. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No problem. I get overlooked all the time, Mayor. Thanks.
Are you a middle child?
I'll try and make this brief, but you know me, I'm not going to. So this has been, I'll just say this and summarize a lot of the stuff people have already said. This has been a very, very hard process. Relationships have been frayed, tears have been shed, but ultimately I think what you hear a lot is compromise. And for some reason in today's day and age, that's a dirty word, but I don't think it is. We all had to compromise, or most of us did in some way, shape, or form to get to this map. I want to say also this was a very, I believe, a very open and transparent process. We've joked about it a little bit, but there's a reason at the state level, they go behind the scenes, make a map, and it comes out and there's the map. We didn't do that. We tried to let citizens, and I think we did not try, we did let citizens have voices. We let them attend, be a part of the map drawing sessions, received countless emails about this over the last, and as Carrie alluded to, this wasn't just over the last couple months. This has been ongoing for a long period of time. I also will address, Mr. Willoughby seems to leave once we can actually address and talk to him, but I'll say it because maybe he's still watching. I don't think anybody up here wants two new personalities sitting up to have to deal with and to deal with the craziness that you have to do with just the number of personalities we already have. I think if we all could have voted and shut that down, we probably would have, just knowing what we work through. But you know what? The people spoke, the people voted, and we had to honor that. I don't care if it was by 100 votes. I don't care if it was by 4 votes. It's about the people that showed up and voted, and they wanted 2 new seats. So we had to honor that. One of the goals that was set out, and it's been spoken about already, was to create another Latino opportunity district. And we did that with the voting age population somewhere at 62 and 59%. Again, that's something that people were asking for, and I think it's only fitting with the size that Fort Worth is, as we've talked about, 1 Hispanic representative, that we have at least the ability for a second Hispanic to sit on this council. Then it's up to, we don't control who sits in these seats, but then it's about voting. So I could say, as I've said day one when we started this, get out and vote, find good candidates, and get out and vote and run them. This was a complicated process. Anybody that's been involved, Rick's been around, a lot of you too, hours and hours and hours of meetings, hours and hours of public comment. We've listened to that and tried to incorporate that as best as possible. I appreciate the passion from the community that played in this process. Many of you are here today, and I know many of you are watching online. To the redistricting task force, I do really do appreciate your time and your thorough regard for the process. You've dedicated your time, your intellect, and done the best you could. However, this is not a mere science. It's already been alluded to. This is about neighborhoods. It's about people. It's about the citizens of Fort Worth, all the citizens of Fort Worth, wanting to ensure that their voices are heard. And I'll say this, no one knows the districts, no one, than these up here. I've knocked on thousands of doors. I've attended hundreds of neighborhood meetings. I've fielded thousands of phone calls and emails at all hours of the day and night. Attended egg hunts and block parties and trash cleanups and July 4th celebrations, Halloween's in the hills, and I could go on and on and on about events. Talking to my citizens, talking to District 3, not even my District 3, but across the city of other events that I've been invited to go to. I've missed family dinners, experienced abbreviated family moments, had conversations, coffees, attended parties with friends when I wasn't really present. Because all of that time, I'm thinking about this job, I'm thinking about the constituents, and I'm trying to be responsive. And I won't even go into the ludicrous, baseless claims that all of us suffer with, being assumptions of our characters and our motives, and we're all victim to it. And there's I could play out a whole Will and Chris Rock thing if I wanted to, but I won't. Some of you've heard of it, part of it today. This is a sacrifice, and I've heard some comments about if you don't have time to do it, great, I get it. My wife questions my sanity every single day that I would want to do this. But me, it's not about, for me, it's about the people, and it's not about the politics. It's about making a difference, and as something Alex Jimenez said, it's about being the man in the arena. And that's what we all sit up here and do every single day. Jenny Crossland, right behind you is William Johnson. Call you out. We're gonna get those lights down there. And so he can talk to you about that. And I know it's something we've worked on for a long period of time. But I wanna make it clear to you and anybody here, I did not want to give up Como. Como is a special part. I'm the crier today, right? It is a special part of District 3, and I've worked very, very hard to represent them, to hear their voices, to help make a difference for those beautiful souls in Lake Como, Texas. Ultimately, those voices are what led me to be okay with Como being drawn into another district, as long as it did not bifurcate or disturb other neighborhoods. And there was a chance that that would have happened, but we worked it out behind the scenes where it would not do that. I heard from many, and all of you did too, many leaders, many voices in the leadership and those connected with the leadership and other citizens of Como. I also heard from other voices in Como that do not agree with the decision. And to them I say, I'm not going anywhere. Whether or not I represent Lake Como, Texas on paper, I will still be a voice for you here at the city and City Hall. I'll still sing your praises and still pray for your health, well-being, and that all of the people of Lake Como prosper and realize your dreams. You called me an adopted son of Lake Como, and as an adopted son, I know there is no better voice to represent Como than that of an actual son or daughter from Lake Como. So Councilwoman Beck, what she alluded to, take those words and don't waste this opportunity. I want to thank the staff, Fernando, Michelle Swindell, your map-making genius, Michelle Goot, for making up the maps. And with that, I'm going to Swindle, what'd I say? Swindle, sorry. Yeah, Melissa, what are you doing? And so with this, I'm going to say I am voting for Map Anna. It is not perfect. I do not love it, period. But it's the compromise this council had to make to get our stated goals. And if anybody wants to sit down with me at any point in time and go through all the sausage making to get to where we did, I'm happy to do it any time of the day. It was not easy. It was painful. A lot of us gave up a lot of things we didn't want to get it done, but we did. And so also I want to stand, Katie, stand up. Yeah, you got to stand up. She hates this. But I know some people where the heck did Anna come from? But if anybody watched the map making sausage, no, stand up. You can't sit down. But she is close to having a baby. She will be induced on Monday if it doesn't come before that, right? But I kept saying, can we get this map done before that baby graduates college? And that's where the name Anna came from. So that baby has a lot of weight on its shoulders that it's going to bear. So thank you. And with that, I'm done.
And her name is going to be Anna.
That's right.
Well, maybe
Anna.
not now. She may have decided, never mind. We would understand if you changed her name. We do understand. I think all of our council members who wanted to speak have done so. Thank you all for expressing all of your interests, both on behalf of your district and behalf of the residents that live in those districts. I have often felt during this process as your chief referee. And there were moments I needed a whistle last Tuesday if you watched that meeting. But I take the responsibility of being your mayor very seriously. And yeah, it's a sacrifice, but it's also an incredible honor. The redistricting process is a full contact sport. And because it's every 10 years, I can promise you I will not be here to witness the next one. But we attempted to listen to all the interest, and most importantly, the voices I listened to were your neighborhoods and your communities that came here over and over again. And because Mr. Jimenez brought the beautiful, the only thing Teddy Roosevelt can say, I thought I'd read a few lines. And this is not to the council members on this dais, because we all sometimes get the credit and the discouragement sometimes from residents. But there are still people sitting in this audience who showed up every single meeting. Rick, your name has been mentioned many times over. But truthfully, I think these lines are important as we think about what this country is facing, how difficult it is sometimes to bring each other together, to express our differences of opinion and voices. It is okay to disagree, but it is also okay to do so in a civilized manner and to try to reach a consensus that is best for all people. And that's my job as your mayor, and something I consider to be a great honor, a privilege, but also sometimes a struggle. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena. And I say that to all of my residents here in the city of Fort Worth. Thank you for being in the arena with all of us. We really do appreciate you. With that, council, I'll take a motion and a vote. In a second, council, please vote. I don't have a button. I don't have a button, but you can hit yes, please. Thank you. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 22-0191. Conduct a public hearing, authorize execution of municipal service agreement, and consider adopting ordinance for the proposed owner-initiated annexation of land in Parker County known as Walsh Ranch 3E, located within the Walsh Ranch Limited Purpose Annexation, south of Old Weatherford Road, north of Interstate Highway 30, and east of Walsh Ranch Parkway in the Far West Planning Sector, AX-21-001. Report by City Staff Stuart Campbell.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Hi, Stuart.
Council members. My name is Stuart Campbell. I'm with the Plating and Annexation Section of Development Services. Thank you for the opportunity to give me a chance to prepare or present this report to you today. I will be speaking on the following three reports, just by way of information. This item before you is a 60.07 acre owner-initiated annexation known as Walsh Ranch 3E in Far West Fort Worth. It's more specifically located north of Interstate Highway 30 and east of Walsh Ranch Parkway in Parker County. The property is currently vacant and is already zoned PD/LDR for single-family uses in A43 through R2, and is proposed for residential-type development. Per the Texas Local Government Code, the city held one public hearing for the proposed owner-initiated annexation to receive public comments. The notice was posted to the city website on March 15, 2022. The posted notice includes the date of the public hearing, the legal description, draft of the municipal service agreement, and a map exhibit. It was published in the Star Telegram on March 18, 2022. As a full-purpose annexation, the city will enforce all ordinances and regulations, provide all services as stated in the municipal service agreement. This annexation is associated with zoning case ZC 16-115, which was approved by City Council on June 21st, 2016. The actions today include, we're looking for closing of the public hearing after a brief moment of comments, the municipal service plan and annexation request. That concludes my comments. I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate that. Just for a point of clarification, were you speaking on all three of these MNCs or just the first one?
I'll be speaking on all three.
All three. Okay. Thank you. Okay, good deal. Well, with that, I think unless there's questions from council, no, we can close the public hearing and move to vote on each one separately. Yes, sir.
Then I'll just say this. I'll move to close the public hearing. What I do want to say is this is a series of 3 tracts of land, I think totaling about 200 acres. You'll go through the rest of that as part of the public hearing.
Correct.
A couple of comments I did want to make as part of the municipal services agreement. With these, we do have the new fire station 43. That's the temporary one I showed, or we have a temporary one up there. They'll be mainly serviced out of 32 in Chapel Creek, but eventually we'll have 43 built around 2023, which will reduce the overall response times to 3 minutes, which is within our goals there with residents. But I want to see that fire station get built and get it done, so it does deliver on that. Also, as part of this, these are, again, 200 more acres of residential homes that will be built out at Walsh. Love Walsh, love everything they're doing. But Chief, this gets me back. I think he left, but we'll relay that message, Chief Noakes. We've got to figure out on the west side of what we do with our MPOs, which I think are our first line of defense. So I'll continue to have that conversation as part of this as we continue to grow and our residents continue to grow on the west side of Fort Worth. With that, I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Michael. I've got a motion to close the public hearing. Second. Thank you. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. I still don't have there's something weird with my speaker timer. Carlos did, I'm gonna set reset. Nope. Go ahead and vote for me, yes, please, on record. I just can't. Just go ahead and keep going, because he's gonna restart my computer. Okay. So you want us to close the public hearing, you want us to motion and vote on the M&C now? Yes? Okay. Michael, go ahead.
Move to close the public hearing and vote on the M&C 22-0191.
Second.
Please vote. Melissa, you got to vote for me. And motion carries.
Next item is M&C 22-0192. Conduct public hearing, authorize execution of municipal service agreement, and consider adopting ordinance for the proposed owner-initiated annexation of land in Parker County known as Walsh Ranch Village, located within the Walsh Ranch Limited Purpose Annexation, north of Interstate Highway 30, south of Walsh Avenue, and west of Walsh Ranch Parkway in the Far West Planning Sector AX-21-013.
Mayor, council, as Councilmember Crane mentioned, this is the second parcel in a three-part group. This is a 21.29 acre owner-initiated annexation known as Walsh Ranch Village. It's in the Far West Fort Worth and is more specifically located north of Interstate Highway 30, south of Walsh Avenue, east of Walton Ranch Parkway in Parker County. The property is currently vacant and is already zoned PD/LDR for single-family uses in A43 through R2 and is proposed for residential type development. Per the Texas Local Government Code, the city held one public hearing on the proposed owner-initiated annexation to receive public comments. The notice was posted to the city website on March 15, 2022. The posted notice includes the date of public hearing, the legal description, the draft of municipal service agreement, and a map exhibit. It was published in the Star-Telegram on March 18, 2022. As a full-purpose annexation, the city will enforce all ordinances and regulations, provide all services as stated in the municipal service agreement. The annexation is associated with zoning case ZC 16-115, which approved by City Council on June 21st, 2016. The action requested today includes closing of the public hearing after brief moments of comment and executing of the municipal service plan and annexation request. Again, I'm available for any questions if you might have any.
Thank you, Stuart. Any questions, council? Okay, with that, we can have a motion to close the public hearing and vote on the M&C. We get a motion?
Yeah, I move to close the public hearing and adopt M&C 22-0192.
Thank you. And I've got a second. Thank you. Any other discussion? Please vote. Nope, not yet. Yeah. And motion carries.
Next item is M&C 22-0193. Conduct public hearing, authorize execution of municipal service agreement, and consider adopting ordinance for the proposed owner-initiated annexation of land and right-of-way in Parker County known as Walsh Ranch, PA 3W, located within the Walsh Ranch Limited Purpose Annexation north of Interstate Highway 20 and south of Old Weatherford Road in the Far West Planning Sector AX-21-015.
Mayor, City Council members, Stuart Campbell, Development Services. This is, the item before you is 124.60 acres, owner-initiated annexation known as Walsh Ranch 3W in the Far West Fort Worth more specifically located north of Interstate Highway 20 and south of Old Weatherford Road in Parker County. Property is currently vacant and is already zoned PD/LDR for single-family uses in A43 through R2 and is proposed for residential-type development. Per Texas Local Government Code, the city held one public hearing on the proposed owner-initiated annexation to receive public comment. The notice was posted on the city website on March 15, 2022. The posted notice includes the date of public hearing, the legal description, the draft of the municipal service agreement, and a map exhibit. It was published in the Star Telegram on March 18, 2022. As a full-purpose annexation, the city will enforce all ordinances and regulations, provide all services as stated in the municipal service agreement. The annexation is associated with the zoning case ZC 16-115, which was approved by City Council on June 21st, 2016. The actions requested are to close the public hearing after brief comments and a municipal service plan and annexation request. That concludes my comments. We'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stuart. Any questions, council? If not, a motion to close the public hearing and vote on the M&C?
Yeah, move to close the public hearing and adopt M&C 22-0193.
Thank you. Got a second? Thank you. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Melissa, please record my vote as a yes. Motion passes.
Next item is M&C 22-0190. Conduct public hearing, authorize execution of municipal service agreement, and consider adopting ordinance for the proposed owner-initiated annexation of land in Tarrant County known as the HLS Strip, located west of Oak Grove Creek Road and south of FM 1187 in Far South Planning Sector AX-22-002.
Great. Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, Stuart Campbell, Development Services.
You're doing great, Stuart. Keep going.
Didn't know you well today. I can just jumped right into it, I guess. This particular item is a 0.673 acre owner-initiated annexation. It's known as HLS Strip in far west Fort Worth and is more specifically located west of Oak Grove Creek Road, south of FM 1187 in Tarrant County. The property is currently vacant. The site will remain agricultural as property owner has no plans for development of the property at this time. Upon annexation, the zoning will default to an AG or an agricultural zoning district. Per Texas Local Government Code, Section 43062, the city held one public hearing on the proposed owner-initiated annexation to receive public comment. The notice was posted in the city website March 15th, 2022. The posted notice include the date of the public hearing, legal description, a draft municipal service agreement, and exhibit map. It was published in the Star Telegram on March 18, 2022. As a full-purpose annexation, the city will enforce all ordinances and regulations, provide all services as stated in the municipal service agreement. This annexation does not have a companion zoning case. As I mentioned before, it will default to ag zoning. Action requested is to close the public hearing after brief moments of comment and take action on the municipal service agreement and annexation request. Available for any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Stuart. Any other discussion, council? Questions? With that, we can take a motion to close the public hearing and vote on the M&C. Is anybody supposed to be doing that particularly? No? It's, okay, thanks, Craig.
So moved.
Move to close the public hearing and vote on the MNC 22-0190.
Thank you. And a second, council? Second from Jared, thank you. Any other discussion? Please vote. Melissa, please record my vote as a yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is M&C 0243, conduct public hearing, authorize the use of a portion of Harriet Creek Ranch Park for a sanitary sewer maintenance area. Report by City Staff Lori Gordon.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. Good morning, or actually, I guess, good afternoon. Mayor and members of council, I am Lori Gordon. I'm the planning manager of the Park and Recreation Department. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comment on the proposed use of parkland at Harry Creek Ranch Park for a permanent sanitary sewer maintenance area for the installation of a sanitary sewer line. Harry Creek Ranch is located in Council District 7. In accordance with Chapter 26, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Code, the City Council must find no feasible or prudent alternative exists for the location of the improvements and find that the proposed location includes all reasonable planning to minimize impact on the park. This request is for the conversion of approximately 1.596 acres of parkland within Harry Creek Ranch Park for the installation of a new 24-inch sanitary sewer line to serve both existing and future development within the area. The maintenance area will be between 25 and 30 feet wide and about 2,700 lineal feet. In accordance with state law, public notice of the hearing was advertised in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram on March 8th, 15th, and 22nd of 2022. Additionally, signage was posted at the site noting the proposed use and providing instructions for directing comment to the Park and Recreation Department. As of this date, staff has received 14 public inquiries. Calls range from general nature of the alignment to the sewer alignment in general. The following addresses the public questions. The park will remain open during construction. The sewer line will be located below grade. With the exception of 6 at-grade manholes, there will be no above-ground structures. The sewer line will not impact flooding. The project consultant will continue to work with the city forester to reduce the impact of the tree loss. And since this M&C was presented to, or since it was published, we've continued to work with, and due to the change in construction methods, we're going to be able to save an additional 21 trees. The money that is paid into the tree fund will support tree planting throughout the city, and parkland will be returned to its existing condition or better upon completion of the project. In addition, the Water Department and PART staff on March 22nd of this year met on site with the Harry Creek Ranch HOA officers, members of the school staff, and other residents to walk through the proposed project, and staff addressed questions of concern in person. Staff recommends hearing any additional public comment, and upon completion of public comment, staff recommends the City Council close the public hearing and act on the M&C. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Any other questions for Lori, council? If not, go ahead, Councilmember Firestone.
I'd like to move to close the public hearing and approve M&C 220243.
And a second from Councilmember Crane. Any other discussion? Please vote. I'm a yes. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 22-0245. Conduct public hearing and authorize the use of a portion of Thomas Place Park located at 4201 Lafayette Avenue for a sanitary sewer maintenance area.
Okay, back again. Mayor and council, I am Lori Gordon, planning manager of the Park and Recreation Department. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public input and comment on the proposed use of parkland at Thomas Place Park for a permanent sanitary sewer maintenance area. Thomas Place Park is located in Council District 7. In accordance with Chapter 26 of the Texas Park and Wildlife Code, the City Council must find that no feasible or prudent alternative exists for the location of the improvements, and that find the proposed location includes all reasonable planning to minimize the impact on the park. The City of Fort Worth Water Department, is requesting the conversion of approximately 0.067 acres of parkland within Thomas Place Park for the installation of a new 8-inch sanitary sewer line to replace an existing circa 1919 sanitary sewer line that traverses the adjacent private property. The existing sanitary sewer line is not located within an easement and requires relocation for redevelopment of a private lot. The new 8-inch sanitary sewer line will be located along the southern and eastern edges of the park, offset approximately 8 feet from the property line, and the construction method will be bore. The new sanitary sewer line requires a 15-foot wide by about 195 linear foot maintenance area. The Park Center, Community Center will remain open during construction. The park trail connecting to the 200,000 block of Thomas Place will be closed during construction. And actually, I need to change that. We have done the construction there, and that access into the park has been reopened. The city forester has determined that one tree located in the alley will need to be removed, and the remaining existing trees in the proximity to the proposed construction will be protected with fencing. In accordance with the state law, public notice of the hearing was advertised in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram on March 8th, 15th, 22nd of 2022. Additionally, signage was posted at the site noting the proposed use and providing instructions for directing comments to the Park and Recreation Department. As of today, staff has received 5 public inquiries of general nature. Staff recommends hearing any additional public comment, and upon completion of the public comment, staff recommends the City Council close the public hearing and act on the MNC. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Any questions, council, for Lori? If not, I'll turn to Councilmember Firestone for a motion.
I'd like to move to close the public hearing and approve MNC 220245.
Second.
Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 22-0214, conduct a public hearing on the application by Palladium East Berry LTD, a Texas limited partnership, to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs for non-competitive housing tax credits for a development to be located at 2350 East Berry Street. Adopt a resolution of no objection to the application and make related determinations. Report by City Staff Chad Rourke.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of City Council. I'm Chad LaRoque, Housing Development and Grants Manager in Neighborhood Services. This afternoon on your agenda is MNC 22-0214 regarding the adoption of a resolution of no objection supporting a housing tax credit application by Palladium East Berry Limited for the development of the Palladium East Berry Apartments. Palladium East Berry Limited intends to submit a 4% non-competitive housing tax credit application to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, also known as TDHCA. In order for a housing tax credit application to be submitted to TDHCA, a municipality is required to hold a public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comments on the project. The proposed development will consist of approximately 240 units, of which 169 will be available to households at 60% or below of area median income, with an additional 24 units set aside for households at or below 30% area median income. The proposed development will be located at 2350 East Berry in Fort Worth. Staff has reviewed the request by Palladium East Berry Limited and found that the development is consistent with the quality affordable housing goals and priorities in the city's 2018-2022 consolidated plan. Therefore, staff recommends that after any public comments received this afternoon, the public hearing being closed and the City Council take formal action to approve MNC 22-0214 and the attached resolution of no objection for the development of Palladium East Berry. Thank you.
Councilmember Nettles.
Yes, motion to close the public hearing and take action. Move to approve this MNC 22-0214.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please prepare for the vote. The mayor has left the room, so if you can press hers appropriately. Can you press the mayor's? Abstain. We'll soon have the results. Motion is approved. Next item.
MMC 22-0215, conduct a public hearing on the application by Marine Park 34 LLC to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs for non-competitive housing tax credits for the rehabilitation of property at 3144 Northwest 33rd Street and adopt a resolution of no objection to the application. Report by Justin McLaughlin.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Justin McLaughlin, and I am a Neighborhood Development Coordinator working in the Neighborhood Services Department. On your agenda this afternoon is MNC 22-0215 regarding the adoption of a resolution of no objection supporting a housing tax credit application by Marine Park 34 LLC for the rehabilitation of Marine Park Apartments. Marine Park 34 LLC intends to submit a 4% non-competitive housing tax credit application to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, also known as TDHCA. In order for a housing tax credit application to be submitted to TDHCA, a municipality is required to hold a public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comments on the project. The proposed rehabilitation will consist of approximately 124 units. 110 of those units will be made available to households earning 60% or less of the area median income. There will be another 14 units set aside for households at or below 30% of area median income. The proposed rehabilitation will be located at 3144 Northwest 33rd Street in Fort Worth. Staff has reviewed the request by Marine Park 34 LLC and found that the rehabilitation is consistent with the quality, affordable housing goals and priorities in the city's 2018 through 2022 consolidated plan. Therefore, staff recommends that after any public comments received this afternoon, the public hearing be closed and City Council take formal action to approve MNC 22-0215 and the attached resolution of no objection for the rehabilitation of Marine Park Apartments. Thank you. Have a great day.
Councilmember Flores.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I move to close the public hearing and make a motion to approve MNC 22-0215.
It's been moved by Councilmember Flores and seconded by Councilmember Crane. Prepare for the vote. Please mark the mayor abstained. And that MNC is approved. Next item.
MMC 22-0217, authorize execution of a 5-year tax abatement agreement for the construction of a single-family dwelling on property located at 3020 Gould Avenue in the far greater North Side Historic Neighborhood and within Neighborhood Empowerment Zone and Reinvestment Zone Area 1.
Staff. So with that, I'll just go to Councilmember Moon for the motion.
To approve?
To approve.
Okay, Tax Rate District 2. What's District 2?
District 2.
Okay.
So it's been moved by Councilman Flores, I'll pretend that, and seconded by Councilmember Crane. Seconded by Councilmember Moon. Please mark the mayor abstain as we vote. Good to fight over some good business coming up. And that action is approved. Ready for next item.
MMC 22-0218, authorize execution of a 5-year tax abatement agreement for the construction of a single-family dwelling on property located at 5121 Flamingo Road in the Echo Heights neighborhood and within Neighborhood Empowerment Zone and Reinvestment Zone Area 6.
And with that, I'll recognize myself. I'm glad to see housing come to Echo Heights, just so you can tell your neighbors that. So it's been moved by me. Is there a second? Carrie, go for it. Let Carrie do it, okay. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilmember Moon. Please mark the mayor abstaining. Prepare for the vote. Next item.
Last item is MMC 22-0216, authorized execution of a 5-year tax abatement agreement for the construction of a single-family dwelling located at 1205 East Butler Street near the Brentmore neighborhood and within the Neighborhood Empowerment Zone and Reinvestment Zone Area 6.
And the mayor gets a chance to call the last item.
Oh, perfect. I'll turn to Councilmember Beck for any questions or motions. No, there's a motion to approve. Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? If not, please vote. Motion passes.
Mayor, that concludes all of the items.
Thank you. With that, council, meeting adjourned, and we'll reconvene in executive session.